What's up, YouTube? It's the Man of Dorks here. My name's Jeremy, and today I'm bringing you a very special deck tech video. And it is a new deck I just built. I've been playing with it for the last couple weeks, testing it out, getting a feel for it. I absolutely love it, and it needs no introduction, but I'm going to give you a short little display of what it is, and take a look. That's right, it's Deadpool, and I'm going to be bringing you a deck tech on my Deadpool deck and telling you how he runs, his little strategies I come up with to try and win games, and overall he's great and really fun and really annoying. And without further ado, let's dive into Deadpool. Alright guys, here's Deadpool. So starting off with Deadpool himself, he is a Rakdos commander with a 2 black-red for a 5/3 mutant mercenary hero. He has an ability as he enters, you may exchange his text box with another creature's. His text box and another creature's. So it is a replacement effect. It does not use the stack, so it cannot be responded to. It gets around hexproof, shroud, protection, just all the evasion stuff. It's just absolutely disgusting. And then also the creature that it swaps with, or if you choose not to swap, Deadpool has pay 3, sack this creature, each other player will draw a card. So whichever you're swapping, they're getting a card that bleeds them for 3 turn at the beginning of the upkeep due to the swapping. And they can either try to get rid of the creature by blocking or pay that 3 to sack it, but everyone else will plus off of it. So just all in all, he's really disgusting. He has weird things you can do with it, but we're gonna go ahead and just dive in here and show you guys my strategies, what I run. Starting off with creatures, my lowest drops are 3 drops. We play Xantcha, Sleeper Agent, Mari, the Killing Quill, and Dualcaster Mage. Those are my 3 drops. Xantcha, Sleeper Agent is a Rakdos creature, 1 red and a black for a 5/5 Phyrexian minion, legendary creature. She enters the battlefield under the control of an opponent of my choice, and she attacks each combat if able, and can't attack its owner or planeswalkers its owner controls, so she can't attack me. And then she has the nice ability of 3 generic. Xantcha's controller loses 2 life, and you draw a card. Any player may play to activate that ability, or any player may use that. So I can get pluses off of it. Not only can I swap a text box with Deadpool to make them bleed for 3, I can use 3 generic to make them lose 2 more life and draw a card. And anyone can do that. So, and she's 5/5, so she's got a fat butt on her. Then we got Mari, the Killing Quill. She is a 1/2 black legendary creature, vampire assassin with 3/2 body, and whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, exile it with a hit counter on it. So, and that's a good way to stop stuff from hitting their graveyard to get them for recursion. And then assassins, mercenaries, and rogues you control have death touch, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you may remove a hit counter from a card that a player owns in exile. If you do, draw a card and create 2 treasures. So gives this works with Deadpool in the sense of giving him the death touch because he is a mercenary. And then she also gives you draw and ramp with 2 treasures, which do not enter tap, so you would have access to right away. So it's really nice, and all for 3 mana, definitely worth it. We have Dualcaster Mage, a 1 generic 2 red human wizard with a 2/2 body. It has flash, and when he enters the battlefield, copy an instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. This just goes for one of my win conditions in the deck if I can't win by spamming the Deadpool. I just will make infinite hasty boys of him and go for kill. Alright, the 4-drop creatures we run are Shieldred the Apocalypse, and Delina, Wild Mage, Falgovoth, Harrower of Souls, Pitiless Plunderer, Orthrion, Hero of Lavabrink, and Jaxus the Troublemaker. So, Shieldred is a 2 generic, 2 black legendary creature, Phyrexian Praetor with 4/5. Death Touch. Whenever you draw a card, you gain 2 life. Whenever an opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life. So it just plays into the aspect of Deadpool's minusing 3 life when I swap boxes. So their upkeep, they'll lose 3 from a text box and then minus 2 more life since they're drawing cards. And it's, in general, just punishing card draw for my opponents while rewarding card draw for me. Then we have Delina, Wild Mage, a 3 generic red. And she's an elf shaman, legendary creature, 3/2. Whenever Delina, Wild Mage, attacks, choose target creature you control, then roll a d20. And if your result is 1 through 14, you create a tapped and attacking token that is a copy of that creature, except it's not legendary, and it has exiled this creature at the end of combat. So you can use that to get multiple Deadpools out and have them swap boxes before they get exiled. And then her second part of her effect is if you roll 15 to 20, you create one of those tokens of the first stage, and then you'll also roll again. So you have the potential to get multiple tokens, and if you're hitting Deadpool, multiple card swaps, text box swaps, which will just bleed opponents quicker. And she's just overall a really nice body to have. Then we have Valgavoth, Harrower of Souls, for a 2 generic, black red. We have an Elder Demon, legendary creature, 4/4, with ward, pay 2 life, flying. And whenever an opponent loses life for the first time during each of their turns, put a 1/1 counter on Valgavoth, and then you draw a card. So it gives me card draw, pumps him up, and it plays into Deadpool's upkeep. They'll lose 3 life, so it guarantees a Valgavoth trigger. And it's just really nice to have. And if I really wanted to, I could use Deadpool to steal Valgavoth's effect to give Deadpool some protection with the ward and flying, and being able to pump him up, and I can actually hit with commander damage a little bit harder. So it's just nice to have. We got Pitiless Plunder, a 3 generic black human pirate with 1/4. Whenever another creature you control dies, create a treasure token. So that's just really self-explanatory. If I make copies of Deadpool and they are legendary, they die to the legend rule, I'll get a treasure token off of it as well as a swap. So good ramp. Then we have Orthrion, Hero of Lavabrink, a 3 generic, 1 red, legendary creature, human soldier with 3/3, and has 1 generic red tap. create a token that is a copy of another target creature you control. It gains haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Activate only as a sorcery. So, self-explanatory. They make a copy of Deadpool. When that copy enters, I'll swap a deck, as it's entering, swapping a text box, and then sacrificing it to the legend rule can play into Pitiless Plunderer, getting me treasures, just all around creature hate. Then we have his 6 generic 3 red tap, create 5 tokens that are copies of another target creature you control. They gain haste, sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step, activate as a sorcery. So for a lot more mana, you get 5 of them. It's just basically abusing Deadpool. You can abuse Valgavoth if you don't have the legend rule in effect. It's just absolutely disgusting. The amount of abuse you can pull with Orthrion. Then we have Jaxus the Troublemaker. Plays right into Deadpool's theme, Troublemaker. Legendary creature for a 3 generic, 1 red human warrior with a 2/3 body. It has pay a red, tap, discard a card from your hand, create a token that's a copy of another target creature you control. It gains haste, and when this creature dies, draw a card. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step, activate only as a sorcery. So it gives me card draw and copies, so I can make copies of Deadpool, swap a box, and kill it through legend rule. Since it died, I'll draw a card. It's just overall great synergy. And then you have its blitz cost. You may cast it for a 1 generic and a red, and this will gain haste, so you can pay another red to do his discard to create a copy. And then when you cast him for his blitz, when this creature dies, draw a card, and at the beginning of your next end step, you'll sacrifice it. So you'll draw off of him dying, and you can utilize his first effect immediately, making a copy of Deadpool, and stealing a text box, having that Deadpool die, drawing cards, so it's a draw 2 and a text box steal just for the blitz cost. So 3 mana total instead of paying the 4, waiting for him to come out and consider. So very nice utility. Going into our 5-drop creatures, I run 2. We have Riona, Fire Dancer, and Turgrid, God of Fright. Riona Fire Dancer is a 3 generic, 2 red legendary creature, human wizard, with 3/4. And at the beginning of combat, during your turn, create X tokens that are copies of another target creature you control, where X is 1 plus the number of instant and sorcery spells you've cast this turn. They all gain haste, exile them at the beginning of the next end step. So making a bunch of Deadpools, I mean, it's guaranteed 1 every combat. So, but if I spell sling a few spells in the deck, it just adds up. So it's more text box stealing. And if I have a way to keep the Deadpools around, they'll hit really hard. And then we have Turgrid, God of Fright, a 3 generic, 2 black legendary creature god with 4/5, Menace, Menace. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent or discards a permanent card, I may put that card from the graveyard onto the battlefield under my control. So plays off really well with Deadpool, swapping a text box. If they pay 3 to sack that creature to get rid of the life loss where we all draw, I'll steal the said card. It's just overall really good. And then of course it flips. If you want to use its flip side instead of Turgrid, which I don't see why I would. But it's Turgrid's Lantern, 3 generic, 1 black, legendary artifact. And it has tap, target player loses 3 life unless they sacrifice a non-land permanent or discard a card. And then pay 3 generic and a black, and I can untap the Lantern. But we're all gonna be honest here. We all use the God of Fright side. And we're going to the 6 cost creatures. We'll start with Mirage Phalanx, World Gorger Dragon, and the Master Multiplied. Mirage Phalanx is a 4 generic 2 red human soldier with 4/4 and Soul Bond. So you may pair this creature with another unpaired creature when either enters the battlefield. They remain paired for as long as you control both. So as long as Mirage Phalanx is paired with another creature, each of those creatures has, at the beginning of combat, on your turn, create a token that is a copy of this creature, except it has haste and loses Soul Bond. Exile it at the end of the combat. So you can pair it with Deadpool. At the beginning of combat, you'll get a copy of Phalanx and Deadpool, swapping text boxes, and then having hasty boys to attack right then and there. So it's really nice. And if you don't have, of course, which we'll get to, the Master Multiplied, you'll sack the Deadpool to Legend Rule, which you can still gain benefit off of. We have World Gorger Dragon, a 3 generic 3 red Nightmare Dragon, 7/7 with flying and trample. Whenever World Gorger Dragon enters the battlefield, exile all other permanents you control. And then when World Gorger leaves the battlefield, return the exiled cards to the battlefield under their owner's control. So there's cards that will go with him that I'll be getting to shortly to explain his combos, but you can make an infinite loop with him and eventually win the game. He's very nasty, very, very fun card. If you're playing Deadpool, strongly recommend World Gorger. Then we have Master Multiply. It's a 4 generic, black-red, legendary creature, Time Lord Rogue. He has Myriad, so when he attacks, he'll make copies of himself attacking other creatures. Or, not other creatures, I apologize, other opponents. And then he has the static ability. The Legend Rule doesn't apply to creature tokens you control. So that goes with all me copying Deadpool like crazy. So I'll get a bunch of 5/3 bodies that swap text boxes that I can keep and utilize. And then triggered abilities you controlled can't cause you to sacrifice or exile creature tokens you control. So Mirage Phalanx would let me keep the tokens he makes at the beginning of combat. So making Deadpools at the beginning of each combat and Mirage Phalanxes, and I would be able to keep them. Also would protect from World Gorger. It would protect the tokens being exiled when he enters. So it's really good to have. Master Multiply, he plays really well in the deck. And if you wanted to be the player, like, you can go, I'll cast Deadpool, and then as he's entering, you can swap with your own Master Multiplied to give your Deadpool that effect, and then have your Deadpool attack for a commander damage, or, well, just the main one would be commander, but you make copies of him, swap text boxes, and it's just disgusting. We get to some sorceries for you guys now. My 1-drops, Faithless Looting, Gamble, and Vandalblast. So, Faithless Looting, 1 red, draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards with a flashback of 2 generic and red. So just great draw cards. It's in high demand, need draws. We have Gamble, a 1 red tutor. Search your library for any card, put that card in your hand, then discard a card at random. What's the worst that could happen? So normally you could utilize this to fetch your World Gorger and hopefully discard it to the graveyard, because you do want World Gorger to hit grave. But all in all, if you have a big hand and there's something you really need, hopefully you don't discard it. But it's a good tutor to have for red. Just about any red deck should run this. I mean, you can't beat a cheap tutor. And then we have Vandalblast, a 1 red sorcery that will destroy target artifact you don't control, or you can overload it for 4 generic and a red and destroy each artifact you don't control. So it's good artifact hate, just really nice to have. On to some 2-drops. We have Night Whisper, Sign in Blood, Demonic Tutor, Twin Flame, and Molten Duplication. So Night Whisper is a 1 generic black, and you draw 2 cards and you lose 2 life. And self-explanatory, just more draws for you, keep yourself going. Life is just a resource. And if you have your Sheoldred, you'll gain 4 life, lose 2 of it, so you'll net 2. I mean, it's worth it in the end. Sign in Blood is 2 black. Target player draws 2 cards, loses 2 life. So you can use this as a bargaining chip. Once again, if you have Sheoldred, it's a net 2 for you on life. Great draw card for that kind of CMC. Demonic Tutor, just straight up self-explanatory, 1 black, 1 generic. Search your deck for any card, add it to your hand, shuffle your deck. Twin Flame. This is in here for the Dualcaster Mage combo. You can also use it with Deadpool if you so wish. So it's a 1 generic red. Strive, this spell cost 2 generic red more for each cast for each target beyond the first. Choose any number of target creatures you control. For each of them, create a token that is a copy of that creature except it has haste. Exile those tokens at the beginning of the next end step. So in the situation, you would cast this, and then on cast, flash in Dualcaster Mage, and as he once he enters, you'll copy Twin Flame, targeting the Dualcaster. That will resolve. You'll get a new Dualcaster on the board, which will copy the Twin Flame and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat until you have infinite 2/2 hasty boys to go for the kill. Molten Duplication, a 1 generic red for sorcery. Create a token that is a copy of target artifact or creature you control, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. It gains haste until the end of the turn. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So you can use that to copy Deadpool, copy one of your other creatures. It's just cheap copies that will net you some worth later in the game. So 3 drops, we have Come Back Wrong, Toxic Deluge, Buried Alive, Grim Tutor, and Electro Duplicate. So Come Back Wrong is a 2 generic black sorcery. Destroy target creature. If a creature card is put into the graveyard this way, return it to the battlefield under your control. Sacrifice it at the beginning of your next end step. So I believe there's rulings on this. If you hit someone's commander, it would go to the grave before they could put it into the command zone. You could steal their commander for a turn, but you have to look at. I'm iffy on that ruling. Still learning some of the stuff in here, but still just a great removal card, and then you can steal for a turn to utilize. Here we have Toxic Deluge, a 2 generic black sorcery. As an additional cost, pay X life. All creatures get -X/-X. So it's just a board wipe essentially to get around indestructible, hexproof, shroud, stuff like that, just for troublesome creatures. Buried Alive is a 2 generic black sorcery with search your library for up to 3 creature cards, put them into your graveyard, then shuffle. So it's a good way to get your World Gorger or any other creature, you would like to recur. So it's good recursion, good tutoring, thinning out your deck as well. Grim Tutor, 1 generic 2 black sorcery. Search your deck for a card, put that card in your hand, shuffle, you lose 3 life. So it's just a little bit more expensive Demonic Tutor. Then we have Electro Duplicate for 2 generic red. Create a token that is a copy of target creature you control except it has haste, and at the beginning of the end step, sacrifice this token. So once again, if you have Master Multiplied and said Yeah, you don't sacrifice it, and you just net a token. So you make copies of Deadpool, Valgavoth, something like that. Just something you can utilize. And then it has flashback for 2 generic, 2 red. And then the most expensive sorcery I play is Blasphemous Act, which can drop down to 1. Just costs 1 less for each creature on the battlefield, but it's normally 8 generic red, and it deals 13 damage to each creature. So, some instants running. I have 2 tutors that are 1-drop. We have Vampiric Tutor for 1 black. Search your library for a card, shuffle your library, put that card on top, lose 2 life. And then Entomb, search your library for a card, put that card into your graveyard, then shuffle. So a good way to bury something that you want to recur, and a good way to get your card to get the recursion. Draw spells we have that are 1-drops. Corrupted Conviction, Village Rites. Each are 1 black, both do the same thing as an additional cost. Sacrifice a creature, both draw 2 cards. So it's good to have different options to give you more draws. And then ramp pieces we play that are 1-drops. We have Dark Ritual, Culling the Weak, and Burnt Offering. Start with Burnt Offering. As an additional cost, sacrifice a creature. Add that creature's CMC and any combination of red or black to your mana pool. So you could sack a copy of Deadpool, and that would net you 4 mana in any combination of red or black, because since copies are the exact same card. If you have ways to instantly reoccur, so you can use the spell that's an instant to say, oh, if this creature would die, come back with a 1/1 counter, Burnt Offering it, sack it, get mana, and get your creature back. So just, it's worth it. Culling the Weak, same. 1 black, sack a creature, add 4 black mana to your mana pool. And then Dark Ritual is a 1 black, add 3 black to your mana pool. And speaking of recurrence, I have 4 1-drop reoccurring spells. We have Undying Malice, Feign Death, Undying Evil, and Malakir Rebirth. Undying Malice is 1 black, or just a black mana. Until the end of the turn, target creature gains, when this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner control with a 1/1 counter. Feign Death, until the end of the turn, target creature gains, when this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner control with a 1/1 counter on it. And then we have Undying Evil. Target creature gains Undying until the end of the turn. So when the creature dies, if it has no 1/1 counters on it, return it to the battlefield under its owner control with a 1/1 counter. And then Malakir Rebirth is a 1 black. Instant, choose target creature, you lose 2 life. Until the end of the turn, that creature gains, when this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. And if you do not need Malakir Rebirth and you're a little short on mana, of course it is Malakir Mire, which enters tapped, but it is a black land. Two drop spells we have here for you guys have Terminate, Infernal Grasp, Deadly Dispute, and Cabal Ritual. Terminate is a black-red instant, destroy target creature, can't be regenerated. Infernal Grasp is a 1 generic black, destroy target creature, you lose 2 life. So just single removal, target removal. If something's bothering you, get rid of it. Deadly Dispute is a 1 generic black instant. As an additional cost, sacrifice a creature, draw 2 cards, and create a treasure token. So draw, fishes through your deck, and gives you some ramp. And since it sacks a creature as an additional cost, you have your Undying Malice or anything, you can bring back said creature you're sacrificing. Or if it's a token, it's a win-win. Cabal Ritual is a 1 generic black, add 3 black mana to your mana pool. And then Threshold, add 5 mana to your mana pool instead if you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard. Three drops we run is Chaos Warp, Saw in Half, and Deflecting Swat. Chaos Warp is a 2 generic red instant. The owner of target permanent shuffles that into their library, then reveals the top card of their library. If it's a permanent card, they put that card onto the battlefield. So it's just good single target removal to get rid of something that could be troublesome down the line, or if you have something that's useless and you think you can hit better off of it, you can use it on yourself. But it's just good protection. Saw in Half is a 2 generic black instant. Destroy target creature. If that creature dies this way, its controller creates 2 tokens that are copies of that creature, except their power is half of that creature's power and their toughness is half of that creature's toughness. Round up each time. Don't try this at home, kids. Magic is super dangerous. Alright. And then we have Deflecting Swat. A 2 generic red. If you control your commander, you may cast it for free. You may choose new targets for a spell or ability. So it's a good way to get rid of some single target removal, give you some protection. And what I love about the ruling is you cannot Deflecting Swat Deadpool's text box because it's a non-target ability. It's just absolutely disgusting. Saw in Half, you have combos you can do with that, getting multiple Deadpools, multiple swaps, or just get rid of a big creature they have, give them 2 small ones, especially if it's a legendary, then they'll have to sacrifice one of them. Just good spells in general, all 3 good. 4 drops we run instants are Fell the Profane and Deadly Rollick. So Fell the Profane, 2 generic black instant, destroy target creature or planeswalker. So creature, planeswalker, hate. And then of course it is also a land if you're ever needing a land. Fellmire, it enters the battlefield tapped unless you pay 3 life, but I mean it depends on how badly you need the mana. And then Deadly Rollick, a 3 generic black instant. If you control your commander, you may cast this spell without paying its mana cost. Exile target creature. So very good card to have to get rid of creatures that are annoying. And I absolutely love these Deadpool versions, and the flavor text on it is beautiful. I normally charge for my merch services, but I just can't say no to someone who controls their commander. Love it. Alright, we're going into some artifacts now. We have Soul Ring, self-explanatory. Arcane Signet, Talisman of Indulgence, and Thornbite Staff. So Arcane Signet, 2 generic, tap to add 1 color of any color of your commander's identity. Then you have Talisman of Indulgence, 2 generic, tap for colors or tap for black or red, and Indulgence will deal 1 damage to you. Thornbite Staff is a 2 generic tribal artifact, shaman equipment with equipped creature has 2. Tap this 2 generic, tap this creature, deals 1 damage to target creature or player. And the static ability of whenever a creature is put into the graveyard from play, untap this creature. And then whenever a shaman creature comes into play, you may attach Thornbite Staff to it. And then it has a generic equip cost of 4. Alright. We have 1 3-drop artifact, Mirror Box. A 3 generic artifact that is really great in Deadpool. I finally tested it out and I absolutely love it. It's coat of arms and Mirror Gallery in one. It's disgusting. So it has the legend rule doesn't apply to permanents you control, and then each legendary creature you control gets +1/+1, just static, and then each non-token creature you control gets +1/+1 for each other creature that has the same name. So if you make a bunch of Deadpools, all your other Deadpools will get +1/+1 because they're legendary, and he will get plus 385 and 385. But it's for 3 mana, that is just an immaculate effect for this deck. 4-drop artifacts, Teferi's Puzzle Box, and the One Ring. Teferi's Puzzle Box has, at the beginning of each player's draw step, that player puts the cards in his or her hand on the bottom of their library and then draws that many cards after they draw their first card for turn. So that plays really well with Shieldred, so I can bleed out some people a little bit quicker. And it also helps me cycle through my deck, fish through cards I need, and just hopefully let me end faster. And then the One Ring, 4 generic, legendary artifact, indestructible. When the One Ring enters the battlefield, I gain protection from everything until my next turn. And then at the beginning of my upkeep, I'll lose a life for each bird encounter on the One Ring. And then I can tap the One Ring to add a bird encounter on it, then draw cards equal to the amount of bird encounters. So this plays really well with Shieldred. It also plays well with Teferi's Puzzle Box, so I can draw a bunch of cards. Once I put my hand on the bottom, I can stack my deck. It's just, these two just play really well. I can fish through a lot quicker. Alright, the only 5-drop artifact I play, Mirror Gallery. The legend rule does not apply, so it affects your opponents as well. But, I mean, it doesn't help them as much as it does you, because then you can spam copies of your Deadpool, keep them, and use them as an army to just an X-Force, and just go for the kill. Alright, and some enchantments we're playing. We have Animate Dead and Dance of the Dead. Those are the two-drop enchantments I play. So both are 1 generic and a black. Animate Dead is an enchantment, aura. Enchant creature in a graveyard. When Animate Dead enters the battlefield, if it's on the battlefield, it loses enchant creature card in a graveyard and gains enchant creature card in graveyard and gains enchant creature put onto the battlefield with Animate Dead. Return enchanted creature card to the battlefield under your control and attach Animate Dead to it. When Animate Dead leaves the battlefield, that creature's controller sacrifices it. Enchanted creature gets -1/-0. So a little confusing text there, but essentially just recurs and get your creature back, and that plays really well into your World Gorger. So you'll get World Gorger to your graveyard, cast Animate Dead or Dance of the Dead to bring back World Gorger. And when World Gorger would enter, it exiles all permanents. You can tap your lands to add mana. And they'll exile, including this. World Gorger will get sacrificed. When he leaves, everything comes back untapped. Animate Dead, repeat the process, tap, so on, so you can get infinite mana, and then finally you can just fish a different card out from the graveyard to stop the loop. Dance of the Dead is a 1 generic, 1 black. Enchant dead creature. Take target creature from any graveyard. So you can even steal an opponent's up from the opponent's graveyard, apparently. I did not know that. I thought it was mine. I just learned something new. And put it directly under your control, tapped with a +1/+1. And treat that target creature as it was just summoned, so it does get summoning sickness. and that creature does not untap during its controller's untap phase. At the beginning of his or her upkeep, its controller may pay an additional 1 generic 1 black to untap it. If Dance of the Dead is removed, bury the creature in its owner's graveyard. So this is another card that you can do the World Gorger loop over and over and over and over, which will give you the mana you need to basically kill. And also with this Infinite Blinks, you can utilize the One Ring over and over. You can, once it comes back, you, not the protection part because it's not on cast, but you, as soon as you come back, you remove all your burn counters, and on his exile, you just tap it, add a counter, draw a card, return, tap, draw, just until you get the cards you need. So you can draw out your entire deck. Then we have the only 3-drop enchantment is Necromancy. It's basically the same thing as your Dance of the Dead and Animate Dead. It's a 2 generic black enchantment. You may cast this as though it had flash, so you can cast it as an instant. And cast it anytime you, so as an instant speed. If you cast it as an instant, it is sacrificed at the next cleanup step, so you're end phase essentially. When Necromancy enters the battlefield, if it becomes an aura with enchant creature put on the battlefield, put the target creature from the graveyard onto the battlefield, under your control attach Necromancy to it. When Necromancy leaves the battlefield, that creature's controller sacrifices it. So once again, just blink, 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 and infinite mana. Alright, 4-drop enchantments we play. Flameshadow Conjuring and Splinter Twins. Flameshadow Conjuring is a 3 generic red enchantment. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay a red. If you do, create a token that is a copy of that creature and it gains haste. Exile at the beginning of the next end step. So you cast Deadpool, make a copy of him, 2 text box steals, exile it, but if you have Master Multiplied, you'll keep it. And then also, if you have the Legend rule, you don't have to sacrifice them on entrance, so you'll have 2 Deadpools for the turn. Splinter Twin is a 2 generic, 2 red enchantment aura. Has enchant creature, has tap, put a token that is a copy of this creature onto the battlefield, and that token gains haste. Exile it at the beginning of the next end step. So the combo you'd want is you'd attach it to your Deadpool, tap, and you can make a Deadpool token to steal another box. And if you have your Thornbite Staff also on Deadpool and no Legend rule protection, you'll tap, make a token of Deadpool, a copy, steal a text box. That token will die to Legend rule, since it would technically go to the grave before it dissipates. Thornbite Staff will untap your Deadpool, and you may repeat this process as much as you want. So you can fill the entire board with Deadpool boxes, which will bleed people dry eventually. And there is a killing combo with this as well. I'll show you the next piece here shortly. Then we are going to the only 5-drop enchantment, Black Market. 2 black, 3 generic enchantment. Whenever a creature dies, put a counter on it. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, add a black for each charge counter on Black Market. So that also plays really well with your Splinter Twin, Thornbite, Deadpool combination. Just let them keep dying, build up counters on this. If it doesn't get removed, you're going to have a lot of mana to spend. Oh no, I did. I'm sorry, I did miss one 5-drop. The best one. To save the best one for you. The Rakdos Joins Up is a 3 generic red black. So this is where these come back for you. So it's a legendary enchantment. When it enters, you return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with 2 additional 1/1 counters. So you do need a creature in the graveyard to reoccur for this. But it does make a big creature. But it's more for its second effect that you're really going to mind. So it has, whenever a legendary creature you control dies, Rakdos Joins Up deals damage equal to that creature's power to target opponent. So with these 3 in play, you essentially kill every single opponent. You'll tap your Deadpool. You don't even have to swap a box. It dies to legend rule. Target opponent will lose 5 life because Deadpool has 5 power, and you'll just repeat this process until everyone is dead. And the last enchantment is a 6-drop that I run. Mirror March, a 5 generic red enchantment. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, flip a coin until you lose that flip. For each flip you won, create a token that is a copy of that creature. Those tokens gain haste. Exile them at the beginning of the next end step. So I tested the game. I actually pulled off Deadpool, and I actually got 6 heads. So I got 6 copies of Deadpool, swapped a bunch of text boxes. And if you had Master Multiplied, the legend rule doesn't apply, and you don't have to exile them, so you have all those Deadpools that you can abuse. And if they died to the legend rule with Mirror March, and you also have Rakdos, that's a lot of damage you're dishing out. So just a really powerful enchantment. It is high CMC, but it's worth it if you can pull it off. Alright, we're going to go to lands for you. Start off with my dual lands. Run Blood Crypt, Smoldering Marsh, Tainted Peak, Sulphurous Spring, Dragonskull Summit, Luxury Suite, Blackcleave Cliffs, Haunted Ridge. So, Blood Crypt is a shock land. Enters tapped unless you pay 2 life, and it taps for a black or a red. Smoldering Marsh, this also has both basic land types, these 2 as well. Smoldering Marsh is a swamp mountain. Tap, add black red. It enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands, which in a 2-color deck you probably will. Tainted Peak is a land that taps for a generic, or tap for a black or a red, only if you control a swamp, which you'll most likely have. Sulphurous Springs. It taps for a generic, or it can tap for it's basically a pain land. Tap for a black, you'll take a damage, or tap for a red, you'll take a damage. Dragonskull Summit. Enters battlefield tapped unless you control swamp or mountain, which you'll normally have. Taps for red and black. Luxury Suite. Enters battlefield tapped unless you have 2 or more opponents, so it's a check land. And we have Blackcleave Cliffs. Enters battlefield tapped unless you have 2 or fewer lands, so you got fast land. And then Haunted Ridge enters battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more other lands, so a slow land. But all dual lands that can help you fix your colors that you need. We have 2 filter lands, Shadowblood Ridge and Graven Cairns. Shadowblood Ridge is pay a generic, tap, add a red and black to your mana pool. Graven Cairns taps for a generic, or you can pay a red or a black to filter into it to get either 2 black, 2 red, or a red and a black. Play 2 fetch lands. Polluted Delta, Bloodstained Mire. Polluted Delta, pay a life, search your library for an island or a swamp, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. So you grab a swamp with it. Bloodstained Mire is the same, pay a life, search for a library for a mountain or a swamp, and put it onto the battlefield. And you sack both of these. Alright, some of my unique name lands. We have Command Tower, Bajuka Bog, Reliquary Tower, Command Beacon, Blightstep Pathway, and the best for last, Forbidden Orchard. Command Tower, tap for any color of your commander's identities. Reliquary Tower, we already know, no max hand size. Yeah, it taps for colorless. Bajuka Bog enters tapped, but when it enters, exile target player's graveyard, so it's graveyard hate. And it taps for a black. Command Beacon, tap for a generic. You may tap, sacrifice Command Beacon, put your commander into your hand from the command zone, so it's a good way to avoid some tax. We have Blightstep Pathway. It's just a land, tap for a black, and it's a flip land, so you need also can be Seer Step Pathway, which is just taps for a red. So whichever you're in need of, it'll help you. And then finally, Forbidden Orchard, one of my last combo pieces. So it's a land that can tap for any color, but whenever you tap Forbidden Orchard for mana, target opponent creates a 1/1 colorless spirit token. So if we do the World Gorger loop, which would, so let's say we have one of these, the Animate Dead. We animate the World Gorger. We have Deadpool in play. So you'll tap Forbidden Orchard, and in response to getting World Gorger out, give someone a spirit. World Gorger will exile everything except for himself. Animate Dead leaves. World Gorger dies. Then they all come back untapped. When Animate Dead comes out, you'll get your World Gorger back. In response, tap Forbidden Orchard again. And you also have a Deadpool swap, so you can swap with that spirit that you just gave an opponent. And with this, you can give everyone infinite spirits and infinite swaps. And then once you have the mana you need, you can, once this comes out, you can respond by paying 3 to sacrifice your own Deadpool instead of giving them a box to let everyone else draw a card. They'll blink again, you'll Animate Dead to come back, you'll break the loop by bringing your Deadpool back. And then you just pass the turn and watch everyone else die as the table goes around. So, just really nice way to kill everyone. And then finally, my basic land package. Eight mountains, and then 9 swamps. I feel like that's a good balance for the cards that I play in terms of land base. But there you guys have it. That is my Deadpool commander deck. I have only played him for a couple weeks, but I went to one LGS and played for a commander day. And just about every game I played in the pod, I actually won. It's just, I think the reason being is not many people know how to deal with him at the moment. It's so unorthodox the way you steal text boxes, bleed people dry, you blink him, reanimate him, and that you have so many different infinite loops you can pull off, and it's just really, really fun, and he's really, really obnoxious. But yeah, guys, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. A few honorable mentions for the deck. I did consider Blade of Selves and Helms of Host, but I feel they are a little too slow, with Helms of Host being a 2-drop and then 4 to equip, and then the vice versa with, or the Blade of Selves is a 2-drop, 4 to equip, and Helms of Host is like a 4-drop, 3 to equip, or something like that. It's just too slow, too easy to interact with. And the Myriad from Blade of Selves does not really help you if you are the last 2 in a pod. So I opted out of running cards that just give Deadpool Myriad. Instead, I'll just use spells that make copies of him to be able to swing out. But those were just some honorable mentions I did think about, just opted not to play. But all in all, guys, yeah, let me know what you guys think. Any cards you would suggest, any cards you think you can do without, please let me know. But that's Deadpool for you. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.